My name is Madeline Gannon, and I'm a robot whisperer. And thank you. This is not a career path I ever set out to make, and it really just happened by accident. I'm an architect by training and a roboticist by practice. And it's really a rare joy to be in a room full of people that have maybe made that same journey, creative engineers and designer developers. It's not often that I get to share a space with so many people that know what it's like to transfer between art and design and technology. And so as someone who came from the world of arts and wandered into tech, I think it's really important to remember that culture is a technology. And that culture was the first technology, and perhaps is still the best technology at transferring knowledge from generation to generation. And I think fundamentally, that's why I see our digital tools as creative mediums. I think that they're vital to exploring the future of the human condition. Okay, now with that out of the way, I think we should talk about some robots. So today, the world of robotics and AI are beginning to merge. And you may see some terms and headlines like physical AI or embodied AI, and that's really talking about putting intelligent software into physical things, into bodies, into robot bodies. And robotics for a long time has been this very niche research field, but it's commercializing very rapidly. And robotics in general is becoming to be our fears of AI made incarnate. Right? Creepy. All right. And really what it's doing is this rapid acceleration of this, it's making us come face to face with all of our fears and anxieties around automation and our own obsolescence. But here's what we need to remember. Automation is not inevitable. It's intentional. It reflects our values, and it is a result of our collective choices. And at any moment in time, we can decide to choose differently. Let's roll the video.
I'm really passionate about inventing better ways to communicate with machines that can make things. For a long time, industrial robots have been the culprit of automation and replacing human labor. Basically, all the easy tasks to automate have been automated. Now what we're working on is using these tools to enhance or augment human labor. And that to me is very exciting. Industrial robots are really fantastic CNC machines. You put a different tool at the end of the arm, and all of a sudden they can do a whole different thing. So in the morning you can be doing spot welding, in the evening you can be doing painting. It's just highly adaptable. Another thing that I'm working towards is finding ways to bring these machines out of factories and into live environments. So onto construction sites or onto film sets. There's chance for unpredictable objects like people to be moving into the environment. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to build the system, to give this robot eyes so that it could actually see me and we can safely collaborate in a shared space. If I'm wearing or if I'm holding these motion capture markers, it knows where I am in space, it knows how I'm moving in space. Now all of a sudden we can give the machine a nuanced understanding of our intention in that space. You can get someone who's never seen a robot before and have them begin to do creative things with just a couple minutes of interacting with the machine.
Thank you. So somehow, some way, I have managed to build a career out of properly misusing machines. And this project in particular, I'm really fond of. I did it 10 years ago, almost to this exact day, just down the road on Pier 9 in the Embarcadero. And even back then, I never really understood why someone, they didn't take these cameras that could see the world but not move, and just pipe them to these robots that can move in the world but not see. it seemed like a pretty obvious connection to me. And it turns out it's probably because they read the manual and I didn't. Because on page 31 here of the product manual for the robot, it's just like warning you of your impending doom if you ever come into close contact with this machine. In general, I think it was really good that I never read the manual, right? Because there's a real power in not knowing what you're not supposed to do with the technology. If I had read the manual, maybe I wouldn't have discovered that what the robot was doing was not actually the most interesting thing. What kind of captivated the internet's imagination was what they saw with my connection with this machine. That I took this thing made to do short, repetitive tasks over and over again, and instead I made it this little excited puppy that was just following me along the lab. And standing in front of it is really powerful. This thing weighs like 2 tons. And being right in front of it face to face, you really stop feeling like a programmer, like an engineer, and you start feeling more like an animal tamer. Standing in front of this big beast of a machine, totally in love with it, but really hoping that it just won't crush you. And this really unlocked a big realization for me, and it's something that I think almost everyone working in robotics is getting wrong today. The future of robotics isn't really about what the robots will do, it's going to be about how they make you feel. It's not about function, it's about feeling. The tasks that these machines will do, those are really just the table stakes. Their utility is what gets them in the door. As robots, as physical AI, as embodied AI need to come into our environments, as they need our mass adoption, our mass acceptance, how they make us feel will be far more important. And that's where everyone in this room comes into play. We need artists, we need designers to have a seat at the table to help decide how this technology touches society. And this lesson is a little bit frustrating to me because we should have learned it a long time ago. Well, what a lot of folks don't realize is that at the very beginning of the field of robotics, robots for industry and manufacturing and robots for art really share the same origin story. And even the engineers that were building machines for automation by day were building robots for art by night. And you look back to the late 60s, early 70s, now half a century ago, and you get these really sophisticated machines. This one is one of my favorites. This is Senstor. And this is essentially an autonomous robot built 50 years ago that has this microphone array in its snout that has a form of echolocation to come and find you. Really sophisticated. And so I often think back to this moment of time, now almost half a century ago, right when we were just beginning to experiment with the potential of this technology. And I feel we're at a very similar crossroads today with our relationship to AI. And we have a choice. We can build things that are efficient and optimized and automated. Or we can choose to build a future where the technology we live with is curious and kind and alive. And that's a future I choose to live in. Thank you. That wasn't a hold for applause. The clicker wasn't advancing. I'm not sure. Are we going to the next video? Yes, thank you. I want to introduce you to my good friend Mimus here. She's a very curious industrial robot. And I was lucky enough to rescue her from her very boring life on an assembly line in Birmingham in the UK. And a museum let me invite her in there for a 6-month holiday from her boring job to just come and hang out with visitors. And the incredible thing was that over the 6 months, over 100,000 people came to see her. And they weren't there to see how fast she could move or how efficient she was at her task. They came to see her because her curiosity matched their own. They came to see her because when they stared, Mimus stared back. I miss that robot. Thank you. So Mimus here is just a regular off-the-shelf industrial robot. There's really nothing proprietary or special about her. Sorry, Mimus, just not that special. So she's exactly like any of the robots you would see here, making cars on an assembly line. And for me, the only difference here is that I just reached into her brain a little bit, tweaked it around, and just changed how she moved. And just by changing how she moved, people stopped seeing her like this one-ton lump of metal and motors, and they started to see her more as this living, breathing, mechanical creature. Just by changing how she moved, I gave Mimus this illusion of life. And I discovered that this is a really powerful tool for interacting with things that think. And well, I didn't really discover this. There's literally a book called The Illusion of Life. It's a really incredible book. I didn't know it existed at the time, but I highly recommend it now. This was done by some folks from Disney back in the 1980s, and it outlines these core principles of motion that you can rely on to communicate personality and like internal state of mind of things. It's a really incredible book. You can pick it up on Amazon. These guys didn't invent this idea either. If you go back to the 1940s, a pair of psychologists discovered that we relentlessly project this illusion of life onto anything that moves. Participants of the study would say that they see like this big bully triangle picking on this little triangle and chasing after a timid circle. Some participants would even like say, I see two guys fighting over a girl, right? Not one participant said, these are just little pieces of paper cut up and being moved on a tabletop, which is what they literally are. And Heider and Simmel, amazing psychologists, they didn't invent this either. This is actually a phenomenon called pareidolia. Pareidolia goes across all cultures, it grows across all times, and it's something that's hardwired into us. It's the reason why we see shapes in clouds or constellations in the stars. It's the reason why we see a face in the moon, and honestly, faces in just about anything. It's why, okay. It's a really powerful design material that's ready to be harnessed for things that think and move. The uncomfortable truth in all of this is that we humans are very easy to trick, right? We have a natural tendency to see animacy in anything that moves. As designers, there's very little we actually need to do to make something seem alive. When I go to these exhibits in museums, oftentimes people will imagine that the robots are seeing them through their snouts because there's these little holes there. Those aren't cameras, those are just holes to put the bolt patterns in it. Robots don't need eyes inside their bodies, their eyes can be in the entire environment here. But what you can also do is you can slap these like two big wooden circles onto the end of a robot, and all of a sudden you have this 10,000-pound roaring creature that's eyeballing you and your friends. And then you also accidentally invent the world's largest googly eye. So this illusion of sentience is a feature and not a bug. It's hardwired into all of us, and it's a really powerful medium for communicating with things that think and move. All right, so many of us these days find ourselves whispering incantations into machines, hoping that they give us back some magic in return. So how do we actually work with technology that we need to convince and not command? This is the era that we're heading towards now. What are some things that we can do that can, apply beyond robotics in how we actually talk to the software that we're co-designing with? I tend to structure my creative inquiries around these three principles. This idea of amateurism, playfulism, and optimism. Amateurism. Amateurism, what's really powerful about this is that amateur eyes can connect dots that others can't even see. And it's a really powerful tool that, unfortunately, is hard to keep the more expertise you gain. The more experience you have, the more you already know what's completely impossible, what is totally improper, and what can't be done. And now this is something that I have to really be on guard with when I work with robotics, because I'm the expert now. And there's a lot of blind spots that my expert assumptions make, and I have to be very careful not to self-censor at the very beginning. And one thing that I find very comforting, it might be frustrating, I find it very comforting, is that when technology moves as fast as it does today, we all become amateurs all over again. And I think this really levels the playing field for innovation. All right, playfulism. This is asking a lot of what-if questions, why not questions, how hard could it be questions. I'm sure we've all been there before. And really, this is about leading with a curiosity that's open but still intentional. I put this into practice one day when we decided to purchase a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of Pittsburgh. And we decided to turn it into a warehouse house. And the thesis behind this was that if I was ever going to feel what it would be like to live with these intelligent, autonomous machines, it wasn't enough to just visit them in the lab Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We really needed to move in together and be roommates. So we built out a really beautiful living space and an incredible workspace here as well. And then the workshop space, that plan got changed when this little girl came around. It became a nursery. And for anyone who has had the amazing opportunity to do a home renovation and start a family at the same time, you can imagine that it's not the best choice to make. So we built a swing for Lena, and she loved swinging, and it let us keep on working on the renovations, and it also prevented her from eating all the construction debris, which is very helpful. And I thought, well, Lena really loves the swing. Wouldn't my robot like to go swinging too? It's always like stuck in one spot its whole life. Wouldn't it like to feel like outside of its body? And it's a very playful question. I did it because why not? Like, I had all this stuff, why not do it? But this playful question became purposeful during the pandemic when Lena couldn't play with a lot of her friends out in the park. She had a little bit of companionship, a little bit of normalcy when she came home, right? Just swinging, hanging out. Purposeful play is really powerful. And as we're just scratching the surface of what our tools with artificial intelligence can do today, I find that's a really productive way to investigate such open-ended design spaces. Optimism. I have a confession to make to you all today. I am an optimist by nature, and maybe that's a through line you've seen through some of the work here. But I'm also a skeptical optimist. And this is really acknowledging the challenges that we face today, but regardless, going forward with this fearless and relentless drive to bend the future towards more desirable directions. For me, I want to show how we can reconfigure the technology today to bring a bit more awe and wonder and optimism back into the world. We need more of that. And I feel like we're living through such incredible times where the technological barriers and the economic barriers to build anything are crumbling down. The creative ceiling we have with just the tools today, not even going forward into the future, is so high that the legitimate hard limit that we are all facing is the limit of our own imaginations. If I see another robot bartender or barista, I'm going to cry, all right? Everyone in this room are building tools that are going to build the future. And the challenge with this is like, when you go into the future, there are no maps. There are no roadmaps for where you go. You really just have to navigate by the stars. What I find is that having a North Star, this clear and unwavering heading, is so useful to guide you through the journey. I find that having a North Star leaves space for idealism and optimism and ambition and the grace for the inevitable course corrections that come along the way. So as you go on today, I want you to think about what your North Star is, if you have a North Star. What's something that you can build towards with this fearless and relentless intention that's perhaps too ambitious, too idealistic, but something that we can navigate towards for your entire career? Because remember, we have the technology today. Now we just need to misuse it. Thank you.